What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. My name is Blaiden Kirk. I'm joined, as always, by the two greatest co-hosts of all time, in Matthew Spawnhour and Theo Ash. We do have an awesome episode planned for you guys. We're obviously going to hit our Stay Hot shock, just a game that we thought was ultimately surprising. Then we'll just quickly recap the NFL, do a little NBA chit-chat. We know you guys wanted to hear more of that, so we're making sure to get into it. And then, as always, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review on the YouTube, Apple, Spotify, etc. Keep helping this podcast grow on all platforms. And if you haven't yet, make sure you follow @StayHotPod on TikTok for some awesome content there as well. Road to 100,000 followers, getting closer every day. And then, of course, we are still doing the Ed Sheeran hat giveaway to a bunch of our YouTube subscribers. So make sure you subscribe to Stay Hot on YouTube, and you'll have a chance to win the Ed Sheeran hat. Theo has the Ed Sheeran hat. He overpaid for it, though. But how are you guys today?
Pretty good. My roommate, I don't know if he came up with it. I'm sorry, Theo.
No, you're good.
He asked me this question. In a redraft of the 2012 draft, where would Justin Tucker get picked?
Justin Tucker. Oh.
I would pick him in the first round pretty easily.
Right? I haven't heard anyone say otherwise.
You'll find he's going to
be the greatest kicker of all time.
You'd find analytics people who would disagree, but I mean, knowing what we know now with hindsight, like there's not 32 guys who are better than him or more useful than him from that draft class.
Nope.
There's a lot. That was a pretty good draft class, but to find 32 people that had better careers, it's just not happening. I'm a little bit exhausted.
You would rather have Trent Richardson than
I would not
take him third overall.
I would not be doing that. I'm a little bit exhausted. Yesterday, I went climbing a mountain, and
oh yeah, I saw that.
At the peak of this mountain, I got like altitude sickness, so I got this like really bad headache, and you're walking over rocks, so you're kind of going up and down and up and down. So I was a little bit nauseous going down this mountain, and it was a tall mountain. So like it was like a long way down, and I already felt bad like at the top. So we had to keep stopping, and by the time we got like back into the tree line, it had gotten dark. So we were walking through the dark in this forest, like pitch black. We had dim flashlights for like an hour and a half, and I kind of thought I was going to die, but I didn't die. And I'm alive today with just a bunch of blisters on my feet. I was close, though. So I'm a little bit tired today.
Close doesn't count. So I tested this theory out because I went and did a video at Uptown, Oxford, Ohio, right? Just like asking Browns fans, or not even just Browns fans, but like NFL fans, if they could like differentiate between a former Browns quarterback and a superhero. Like I did Dick Grayson, Nightwing.
Superhero, yeah.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that, right? They got Seneca Wallace wrong, which was kind of
Packers legend.
Yes, yeah, he did. He played for a number of teams. But I wanted to test out how much of my following on Twitter was in Oxford, because a lot of people know me from TikTok. I get recognized there a decent amount. But I tweeted out that I would Venmo someone $20 if they could find me and record a video with me. I had a number of people find me and like take a picture with me or record a video with me, but none of them posted it on Twitter. And none of them was like, I'm going to get the $20. So I thought that was interesting that like no one from Oxford follows me on Twitter.
Very sad.
You like feeling like a celebrity.
You do.
And
every week, Blaiden will be like, I got recognized, and like, okay, we all do. It's not a rare thing, but
no,
I just think it's cool.
I'm not hating at all. It is fun for somebody to be like, oh, you do podcasts.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's really cool. Okay, stay hot shocks, right? I guess I have two, right? Obviously, you know what my second one is. But I think the one that we're all surprised about, because we all locked them to win, the Bucs losing to Washington. What in the world? I mean,
I don't know what to tell you about this one. I can't lie.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we're all going into this game like, okay, Washington has had bottom tier defense all year long. The Bucs are the Bucs. they should have a pretty easy time. Not the case.
Heineke is not that good of a quarterback. He's not. Like, I don't think any Washington fan wants him to be the starter going forward. But he does have to seem to have this quality to him where anything is possible. Like, he is capable of winning in some big moments. He has that quality about him. And he made several big plays today he's just the type of quarterback that this happens to. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like there's this clutch gene that exists in him.
I know exactly what you mean.
That other backup quarterbacks don't have. So that was kind of my takeaway.
He just kind of strikes me as one of those guys that will always be like right around the 32nd best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
And he'll be like a bridge quarterback for a long time or something, or he'll do maybe Fitzpatrick is not a bad comparison for him because he can go out and win games. Even if he isn't super, super great. So he'll either be the best backup or one of the worst.
That Minshew range, that Fitzpatrick range, where it's like these guys are not horrible dudes to turn to, and they can win some weird ones. But I want to talk in this game about the final drive. That was incredible to watch. There was the picks early. Tom Brady threw a bunch of picks early, and really one of them was probably a bad throw that was really his fault. The first one that was way behind the guy, bad throw. But there was also just like weird drops where the ball would like slip out of the wide receiver's hands, like cartoon style, and get picked off, which we're not totally on Brady. He gets enough easy touchdowns where it's like, I don't really cut him much slack for that kind of thing, but still not all Brady's fault that they were down in that hole. But yeah, the wide receivers weren't playing super well, but the Bucs did fight and claw their way back into it. And with 11 minutes left in the game, scored a deep shot to Mike Evans. They're down by 4 with like 11 minutes left. They did not see the ball again until there was like less than 30 seconds left on the clock. It was a masterpiece drive by Washington. And that was really what I took away from this game, where it's like, whoa, that was intense. Just to grind down the clock like that. That's some big boy football.
Make a point not to give Tom Brady the ball back with too much time.
Right. Exactly. They salted it all down. Terry McLaurin made this catch on 3rd down in the red zone. And I thought he was dead. I thought it was going to be like one of those situations where the stretcher comes out. They have to pop the face mask off the helmet. And like he is just out of it. He's unconscious. Yeah. He got popped that hard. And he got up and he held onto the ball and started pounding his chest after that. I was like, oh my God, that's so badass. That was awesome, that catch by McLaurin. And one of the best catches I've seen all year.
You know, if we want to talk about things that are crazy, easing out of the stay hot shock, it's how incredibly different the Panthers looked with Cam Newton. Like, I know Theo tweeted out like, oh, Cam Newton is momentum. And honestly, you're not wrong. It just felt like the defense was playing at an incredibly fast pace. Everything was fast. Everything was full of energy.
It's just a lot more fun.
They look like they wanted to be there.
Other Panthers games. This is the first Panthers game I've had like a good time watching in a long time. I don't want to overreact to Cam Newton being in like 10 plays, maybe not even that many. But I'm probably going to anyway. He looked so strong when he was out there. Shit, I just cannot get this. Hold up. I don't want to overreact to Cam Newton playing in basically 10 plays. But you're 100% right about the energy of the team. And guys were tweeting about that. And I saw a whole bunch of former Panthers players getting excited for it. And everybody was excited on the sideline. I mean, this team went from, and again, I know he only played 10 plays, but this team had the worst offensive performance I've seen of them almost ever against the Patriots. I mean, they scored 6 points, and basically both of those just came because they got good field position. And to the next week, going to the number 1 team in the NFL, and I know they didn't have Kyler D-Hop. And they put up, 34 on him. And that's not obviously all Cam Newton. A lot of it was, PJ Walker played a solid game. Christian McCaffrey played a really good game. The offensive line didn't even look that bad. But absolutely, it feels like the team has hope. Like, we've got our guy back when it didn't feel like that after last week. I mean, I tweeted out, like, the Panthers might blow it up. And now we're sitting here at 5-5. We're probably going to talk about it a little bit. They should make the playoffs. They absolutely should.
Yeah. Personality is a very underrated part of football, and it's because fans cannot measure it. They don't know what's going on. No one can look at it and be like, and see it. It's something that happens in the building. But
except for today. I think it was obvious today.
No, today it was obvious, but yeah, today it was obvious, and it was something that was my number one thing about Cam coming back is not like, regardless of how good he is or how bad he is someone who is exciting, who is galvanizing, who is going to come out and get you hyped, be a leader. And you need guys like that. You need them. You need them in any sport, in any industry. I don't care what it is. Whether you're hiking down a mountain and everyone's like sick, you need like someone to be like, you
need external motivation.
You need you need a motivator. And
right.
Cam is that at minimum. And even in 10 plays, you get like the touchdown from the 1 yard line, ripping his helmet off and yelling, I'm back. Like, how can you not be like, let's fucking go, like, how can you not? And that, when I say momentum isn't real, or like when I go on this tangent about that in the game, it's not me saying I don't think excitement matters. It absolutely does. I think teams tend to take their foot off the gas when they go up big, and that's a mentality thing. I just don't think going up big always makes your mentality better. That's the thing. Getting your mentality better, of course, will make you play better. You just don't always know when it's going to happen. I did know, and everyone knew when Cam got back in that building, that he's going to, at least temporarily, boost everyone in terms of motivation and mindset, I think.
100%. On top of that, the run game looks so much stronger with him. And that's one of those things where it doesn't matter how long he's been out. It doesn't matter how many games he's missed this year. It doesn't matter how much he knows the playbook. Teams are just scared of Cam Newton running the ball. Christian McCaffrey had a great game, and a lot of that was due to Cam just being that valuable and scaring defenses. He had multiple runs where Cam would act like he was taking it, freeze a linebacker, and it would give McCaffrey a ton of room. So he was just doing all the stuff that we've seen him do for so long. It was almost, it wasn't like he never left, but the plays that he was in, there were a couple times where I'm like, man, I can't believe we cut this guy.
The first two plays, both being touchdowns, is like, who scripted this? Like, that's right. That was like so fun. Like, just to have the instant dividends like that is like, this could not have gone better.
And then, see, like, imagine if I had tried to explain what happened with Cam Newton to you before it happened. Or if I'd been like, here's what I think.
Like last week,
Yeah, the Panthers, they're going to go and they're going to sign Cam Newton, which would have sounded ridiculous. And you would have been like, no, the relationship is ruined. And it should have been. It should have been ruined. But Cam just didn't bother Cam. And then I'd say, and then they're going to sign him on Thursday and he'll come in Friday and then he's going to score a touchdown on his first play. He's going to run it in because they'll let him have it
against the 8-1 Cardinals. Yeah,
and they'll win on the road at the Cardinals. That's all going to happen. Like, it would sound like I'm being a ridiculous fanboy.
You'd sound like Blaiden talking about the Browns. You'd sound like Blaiden.
Yeah, I mean,
the Browns they're going to go 10-6 this year. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to beat the Steelers. They're going to beat the Ravens. They're going to go and they're going to blow out the Chiefs on their home turf, and they're going to win the fucking Super Bowl, man. Like, come on.
That's you. Yes. You would have sounded like Blaiden if you would have said that.
It's happening in real life. But it's just so awesome. I don't have anything else to say about it. It's sick. They should make the playoffs. They're 5-5. They would be in it if it happened now. The NFC is not that strong towards the bottom. We talked about that a lot last episode, I feel like. So I'm really excited. At least they have a good shot at it. They're giving Cam a good shot at it. And he's got the best receivers he's ever had.
The Panthers are the 7th seed right now. Other teams outside looking in, Minnesota looked pretty good today. Justin Jefferson in particular, monster. He
was amazing. This was the best game I've ever seen him play. And I've seen a lot of good Justin Jefferson games.
Yeah, no, Justin Jefferson was a monster. They're the 8th seed right now at 4-5. The Saints, there's, and the Saints, they lost to Tennessee today.
Saints. I mean, if we can beat them again, we'll have tiebreaker on them. And they're pretty banged up. They still look good. I mean, with the Saints, it doesn't seem to ever matter who's actually playing on the offense. They're still all right. Which is incredibly frustrating.
They have good coaching staff and a very good defense, and that can get you a solid amount of the way.
Yeah.
But
But they lost
another
today
team you have to be
too.
worried about maybe is the Eagles potentially making.
They do have tiebreaker on us. I'm not. I don't want to be negative, but I'm not super worried about the Eagles. I'll be honest. I think Denver's
Eagles
like a weird
fans
team.
going to be watching this.
I'll say this.
Screw Matt.
I'll say this about the Eagles. Their schedule is not Giants, Jets, Washington, Giants, Washington, Cowboys. They have play a lot of winnable games.
Yeah, they did. And Jalen Hurts looked good today. Shout out Jalen Hurts. He's got to stack these types of games like on top of each other. So, obviously, this game is not really. You need more than this. You need to stack them on top of each other. Right. But a good step in the right direction today. And DeVonta Smith, love that guy. He had a crazy catch on Patrick Surtain, just mossed him, and he's a twig. He's kind of a stick. But it doesn't matter, and it never has. He's one of the better blocking tight ends. One of the better blocking wide receivers in football, DeVonta Smith. Already, he loves to do it. There was a mic'd up moment where he was talking to another wide receiver, and he's like, "You got to block. We're going out there to block." No, it's to Slay. Slay had just had a pick or something, and he went up to Darius Slay, and he's like, "You got to play wide receiver, but you got to block." He likes blocking. I like DeVonta Smith a lot.
Blocking, I've always thought blocking at receiver is very comparable to playing defense in the NBA. It's mostly a choice on just effort.
Yeah,
that's a good comparison.
I don't know. I mean, it's not entirely that. You also have to have good eyes and stuff, but I think
stuff like that. But when there's a lot of guys who won't give it 100% on the blocking,
small, and
then it definitely becomes the case.
You can be strong at that size, But the Eagles, if Jalen Hurts continues to play well, sneaky playoff team.
Seahawks. Seahawks were the team last episode we were talking about. I think they might be the 7th seed in the NFC, and they're sitting at 3-6.
Yeah, I still think they've got a shot.
I don't disagree.
I still think they've got a shot because they have basically, I think maybe 5 free-ish, although nothing is free this year. There's upsets every single day. But they've got 5 really easy teams, and they pretty much got to win one tough game in the division, whether that be versus the Cardinals or the Rams, and I think they're capable of that. Today was not a good start to their little playoff run, though.
I mean, really, their schedule's not that. They play Cardinals next week.
Yep.
Then they have Washington. And the 49ers.
Yeah, that should be a win. 49ers should be a win. Texans should be a win.
Texans should be a win. Then
Bears
the Rams
should be a win.
On the road at the Rams. Bears should be a win. Lions should be a win, but we saw they just tied with Pittsburgh today. So that
was not a very strong performance from the Detroit Lions. We can get into that game later,
it was mostly Jared Goff, man. Jared Goff is so bad.
I would say that with the Seahawks, I mean, even if they do win all the games they're supposed to win, and they go get one against either the Cardinals or the Rams, that only puts them at 9 wins, and that is not a guarantee to get them the 7th seed. So
I would feel a lot better about them if they put up a good fight against this Packers team, but they got totally shut out, and Russ looked horrible. So it didn't make me feel great.
I do think coming back from an injury, he's been out for a few weeks. Maybe there's just it's a little tough to get back.
Did you hear
I don't think Russ is horrible now.
No,
I'll go on record saying that, but
I do think he's a liar. I do think Russell Wilson is a liar. He said the report came out today that he rehabbed his finger for 19 hours a day. Did you see that on Twitter?
I did.
He said that?
Yeah, it was like Russ, or it was on NFL Network. Ian Rappaport was like, yeah, Russ really worked hard to get back. He wasn't supposed to be back this soon, but they rehabbed 19 hours a day. It's like, what? No, he didn't. It's a finger.
Who was it that was like, bro, I swear these NFL.com reports be straight lying. Like, who
That
was
does seem like
there was someone on Instagram that was saying that they're like, I didn't do that. Or it was it who was it that was like Najee Harris? It was Najee Harris.
Yes.
Because they said something about how he like slept on the floor in college. He's like, I didn't sleep on the fucking floor. I slept in my bed.
Yeah, no, ESPN went on like this trauma like porn about Najee Harris for like the entire first quarter of the Monday night game against the Bears. And then he was like, yeah, that's not quite true. But yeah, no, Russ, to say that he like, imagine waking up at like 5 a.m. and like you wake up and you just get right into finger rehab and then you do it all day until you go to bed at like midnight and then you wake up the next morning and you do it again. Like, why are you lying?
I didn't see that report, but if I had to guess, knowing literally nothing about it, there's some sort of like thing he would put his hand in maybe, or maybe there's like a certain thing that he would like sleep with and they're like counting like that as like finger rehab, something.
Because
I feel like there's got to be something
counted as
passive
rehab, I
about it.
suppose.
Yeah, something like that. Because
Yeah,
there's
that's
no
gotta
way
be
they're
right.
trying to claim that he's sleeping 5 hours a night and doing finger rehab with the rest of his time all the time.
Yeah, that's
no way.
And
the rest is like, yeah, maybe they like put his finger in like a splint as he slept, and then they're like, yeah, that's rehab, and that's like a solid like 7-8 hours right there. And then he like works out for like,
by like, and you can kind of like see, because with the finger, I feel like you could kind of do it whenever, right? Like you don't need to go somewhere. So maybe he's just like doing certain movements and shit. That I would believe. That's what it probably is. But then they left out all those details because then it sounds way cooler if he's doing it 25 hours.
19 hours per day. I don't do anything 19 hours. You could sit here 19 hours. I couldn't just sit here doing nothing for 19 hours a day. Anyway, awesome. I thought that was a blatant lie and no one really questioned it. Like on the broad, Jim Nantz was like, isn't that incredible? It's like, what? You don't think that that's a little bit sketchy?
Well, I think that'd be funny if one of the commentators was like, yeah, so there's this report.
Bullshit.
Working on 19 hours. No way.
That's what I would do.
That would have been funny.
That's why they don't like to announce the games.
Anyway, that I don't have much to take away from that Packers game other than the defense. Devondre Campbell, soon Pro Bowl voting will open. And every single Stay Hot listener is required to go to the Pro Bowl website. And when you get to linebacker, you have to vote for Devondre Campbell. You have to, because he deserves it, but he's not going to get it because he's Devondre Campbell. But if you're a listener of this show, you have no excuse not to know that Devondre Campbell is playing at a Pro Bowl / All-Pro level at linebacker this year. So when that opens, I want you all to vote for Devondre Campbell. That's all I got to say about this.
How does the Pro Bowl voting work? Like, what percentage does a fan vote count?
I think it's like 100%.
I thought it was a third. I thought it was a third fan.
I feel like it cannot be, because if it was 100%, they would be ridiculous every time, right?
Yeah.
And if they, it would be
sure
like
it's only a third. But I know they'd also be very wrong.
I think that's.
I think it's a third. Sure. There's no way, because you saw how what happened with the NBA fan vote. People just vote for silly players. They don't care at all. And NFL fans aren't any better. They would do the same thing. I would do the same thing.
1/3. Yeah, 1/3. It is 1/3. Fans, players, and coaches.
Okay, fans, players, and coaches.
Fans, players.
That makes sense.
All right, but
you know who else?
One third should all be Devondre Campbell. That should be the fans.
You know who else should probably be in the Pro Bowl from the AFC?
Mac Jones.
Judon.
Oh,
I guess. But yeah, we were leaning same team. Bro, Mac Jones did have a good game, and I know people are waiting for me to say that.
Very good game.
Yeah, he did. But one thing, the Cleveland Browns secondary put together a masterclass performance a week ago against the Bengals and Jamar Chase. The Patriots do not have a receiver in the same stratosphere as Jamar Chase. And for the lack of better words, they got bitched all game long.
Swear that's like your fourth swear this podcast.
My bad, bro. My bad.
He's pissed.
I'm furious, bro. I am.
Talk your talk, man.
The Browns
setting a record.
Played one of the worst defensive games I've seen all year. Why is Anthony Schwartz on the field ever? Every time anytime a running back's like moving for like 5+ yards after contact, I can almost guarantee it's number 4. Every single time. Even Taki didn't play well. They didn't play JOK like hard. I think he had like 3 plays the whole game.
He just came off injured reserve, right?
I don't care. He's our best linebacker by a mile. Like, bro. This is banged up JOK is better than any other linebacker on our roster.
This is the thing with I don't know how complete that Browns team actually is compared to what maybe people's expectations were. And I think that just they play kind of like an incomplete team. Baker's not that strong. Now the receivers aren't that strong. There's a lot of holes on that.
I'd rather have Mac Jones than Baker. I would. Yeah.
I don't think that's a terrible take.
No, I think it's pretty easy. Bill Belichick gets rookie quarterbacks. Like he will beat you down if you don't quite know what you're doing. And at this point, Baker is still a little bit like a rookie quarterback and still makes those mistakes and still, hasn't really progressed in the way you'd hoped. So it didn't surprise me that they went into New England and got beat and Baker didn't play well, because that's kind of what I think of Baker and that's what I think of Bill Belichick. And I didn't quite expect it to be this bad, but yeah that was kind of my takeaway.
That's really why I'm so mad. Like, if we lost by like a touchdown, I would have got it. Patriots were favored by 2.5. Understandable. 45? 45 you want to put 45 on your head? Come on.
That offense does not have the firepower to be putting up 45 points on teams.
That's what I'm. That is what upsets me.
Accept it.
It's like Mac Jones. I do not think Mac Jones played at a 45-point level. Their receivers just made plays that
Mac Jones
they shouldn't be making. Like, there's this one pass where Mac Jones put it high to where really only Kendrick Bourne could get it, but Kendrick Bourne got clobbered in the air. He got clobbered and he held on to it.
You're describing a perfect pass by Mac Jones. It's split. There's a very quickly closing window between the safety and the corner, and he put it up.
But it's Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne isn't supposed to catch those.
But the placement was so good that he did.
There was the
Mac Jones went off today.
The final touchdown by Jacoby Myers was literally just like a hitch route, and then he just shoved Troy Hill to the ground. Like,
yes.
What are we doing? Like, I have no words.
Jacoby Myers' first touchdown of his career too. Shout out to him.
Yeah, he had the most receiving yards in NFL history before having a touchdown.
Yeah, and he deserves it. The Patriots sneakily
very good
right now. They're
16.
They are very good. Their defense is good, and their offense is it's rolling right now. I mean, shit, they put up 45.
They put up what 50 something on the Jets a couple weeks ago, and I get that it's the Jets, but 50 is 50.
I remember people were hyping up the Panthers for putting up 19 on them.
Right?
You remember this?
I do.
It's like it's like one of the worst teams in the league. You're like, oh my god,
19
threw for 300 yards and they scored less than 20 points. Anyway,
and, the AFC playoff picture is it gets a little more interesting every week. Tennessee still the 1 seed. Buffalo, very good win today. The Mike White saga is definitely over after today.
That's definitely the worst thing that kind of puts an end to that.
Mike White narrative in the mud.
They get you for throwing 4 interceptions. I don't like that.
They do not.
Not an ideal performance. Baltimore still on top of the North. So, but obviously Pittsburgh's close behind. It's just it's a very interesting. First of all, the AFC North is incredibly interesting because
the Chiefs are looking like the Chiefs right now.
They're
up 41-14.
Yeah. They're probably going to end up finishing like maybe not the 1 seed, but they're going to finish really high. They're going to figure it out. Their defense is still a problem, but Patrick Mahomes is not.
I mean, their defense has looked a little bit better here in the last 3 weeks. They were on such a historically bad pace. They're not that bad anymore. There's only 4 minutes left in this game. Las Vegas is at 14 points. The Packers scored 7. I can't quite remember who they put. The Giants didn't score all that much. And I get that these aren't like the greatest offenses ever, but their defense has looked like they know what they're doing, at least.
In the last 5 games, they have not let up more than 20 points.
Yes. So the defense has gotten it better. Is it going to hold up against maybe the great offenses of the league? Perhaps not, but they've looked a lot better.
versus the last 5 games for the Chargers. They let up 42, 34, 20, 27, 24, and 27.
Yes.
And the
Not
Chargers
good.
are 2-3 in their last 5 games. So,
Yeah, they're kind of just falling apart a little bit. I think, Theo, your take on their defense not being that talented was right.
Yes, it was.
it's mostly
And Herbert's
the run. They just
regressed
get
a little
blown over.
bit. Recently, he got off to a hot start this year, and I'm like, oh, maybe he isn't, he's, again, the only guys who really haven't had any kind of sophomore slump are like Manning and Peyton Manning and like Dan Marino are the guys who really vault into an MVP candidate in their second year. And so when I was making my Chargers prediction, I'm like, what's more likely? Is Justin Herbert like a Dak Prescott tier guy where he's a really good quarterback, but he does kind of go down a little bit that second year? Or is he going to be like a Hall of Fame type of career and this early is already an MVP candidate? Through the first 3 weeks, it was kind of looking like, whoa, maybe he's on that Hall of Fame track. But recently it has been a little bit of it. I'm not worried about Herbert at all. Like I think Herbert will be a very good quarterback for a long time, but he is having a little bit of a sophomore slump these past couple of weeks.
And I said that, you should, if you're betting, right, which Theo, I know you're a betting man, you should put money on Herbert having a sophomore slump because the odds are so overwhelmingly in your favor. It's ridiculous. Yes. So I don't know. I know I got some retaliation from Chargers fans when I said he would probably regress, and I am sure you did too. But it's just so inevitable. It really is.
So much so that I apologized, which again, I'm never doing again. No more apologies.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Never apologize, Theo.
Never apologize.
I saw somebody asking you to apologize about Christian McCaffrey. That one's on the way though, right? That's like the one exception.
That's the one exception.
Okay.
Someone was like, apologize to Christian McCaffrey, and then I like refreshed my feed, and it was like Christian McCaffrey in the blue medical tent. I'm like, this is why I'm not he came out of the blue medical tent and had some big runs, but like
he did have a really. He is a really good running back. He is really good. For the record, he can't stay healthy to save his life.
Right. I had him, and I wasn't even that mean to him. I just had him in the elite tier of running backs. I just had him at the bottom of the elite tier of running backs. It wasn't like I was saying this dude's a total bum. I've kind of played into that because people got so mad. But I think he's a good running back. I'm not going to apologize. Like,
what wasn't it like?
I'll say that he's good. He's just at the bottom of
like
concerns.
Percentile in like size and strength.
Yes.
For running back.
Yes.
That's insane to me. Like, and with his workload, it's just
he's a little dude. He's just a little guy.
I've gone a little back and forth on him, but he played well today. He does so much for the offense. I know it's like, oh well, he's just kind of like a check down merchant or whatever. It's like, oh, all these receptions. Or is it like just good for fantasy, or is it good
for the team?
For the team, but to have your last resort be Christian McCaffrey with the ball in open space is a huge advantage versus having just a replacement level player. And that's where I think he really makes a difference. Plus, he is.
Go ahead.
He's just a talented true runner as well, especially, like I said, with Cam in here. They gave him a lot more room to work.
I do think that played a pretty significant difference is having Cam back, that other threat in the backfield to run the football. That definitely opens up
PJ Walker. PJ Walker can move too.
Yeah.
But if Christian McCaffrey was not there at the beginning of the year, he was healthy at the very beginning. And it's very funny how McCaffrey's injury and Sam Darnold's downfall happened at the same time. If they started the year without McCaffrey, there wouldn't have been those 3 games where people thought Sam Darnold might be legit.
It also helps that they were playing some very injured or not great defenses at the same time, but I 100% agree. The other thing I'll say, going back to the Panthers game, not to harp on it, but PJ Walker was very good for a backup. Yes. But he did not play some like fantastic masterclass. When I think he'll be a backup in the league for a while, I like him. But he did not do anything deep that I thought I really enjoyed. In fact, the only pass that he had that might have been farther than 15 yards was an interception. And he just doesn't – he's getting better with it, so we'll see. But he does not handle pressure well. It gets to him. And on that interception he had, some pressure ended up bothering him. And he rushes things, and sometimes he looks a little panicked back there. But overall, he did a good job. I mean, obviously, we won 34-10 or whatever. But don't.
I would say most
I had
bad
some people
quarterbacks don't handle pressure well. I think that's a common trend.
I had some people ask me like, "Oh, do you think Cam will really start over PJ Walker?" Yeah. I don't think it's a risk at all.
PJ Walker impressed me. He played a Lions game last year, and they won that game, I believe. I believe they won the last game they played with PJ Walker, and he had some big time throws in that game. And I was like, oh my God. He also had some really dumb picks in that game. And then I remember looking at his career touchdown to interception ratio, and it's like, what? It's like 3 touchdowns and like 9 picks. And it surprised me a little bit that his production was that bad, because he does have some talent. But yeah, Cam will start over him. Cam was better. Cam was not that bad last. He was not as bad as everyone thinks he was last year. He looked sharp for the Patriots in the preseason. They just had no. They had no weapons. Yes, they were. But Cam looked sharp in the preseason. He looked like he looked okay last year. I think his accuracy was not great, but like he looked poised and mobile and was smart. It wasn't super accurate last year.
When Cam Newton misses, he misses. He misses so bad. That's his problem. It's not. He really, like, his accuracy is not that bad, but it's a combination of Cam Newton's misses always being terrible, and they ran in an offense that liked to throw the ball deep for a large portion of Cam's career. Didn't check the ball down much, and because of that, his completion percentage was shitty. So when you have both the bad completion percentage and then the clips of him missing really bad, it creates this idea that, like, oh, he's terrible. He's terribly inaccurate. And he's not like the most accurate quarterback ever.
There are now 32 quarterbacks better than Cam.
I remember
I will stand by that.
Yeah, he had that 2018 season where he messed up his shoulder. He was still like top 10 in completion percentage because the offense changed and he was throwing more short stuff.
And was that McCaffrey? That was kind of the year he played with McCaffrey. I think that was kind of McCaffrey's big year. Yep. Makes sense. Yes, Cam will start over PJ Walker, in case you are wondering. I didn't know if that was a dialogue people were having, but if it is, yeah, Cam will start over PJ Walker.
Well, the last game I guess we haven't really quite touched on, but I wanted to touch on because Lions Steelers ended in a tie. And you guys know how I feel about ties. I don't see you guys were watching that game, you're like, I would have enjoyed this much more if the Steelers had kicked that field goal. No, who cares? I have no strong opinions about, like some 2 random NFL teams. So if it's going to end in like multiple fumbles and like missed field goals, that's funny. That's a fun ending to me. Right? It's just like a random.
I don't agree. I don't agree. It is random. I don't agree. I think that the rooting for ties is the 3rd worst take of your career, Matt. The 3rd worst.
I'm curious what the other list. 2 are.
I have a list of your bottom 3 takes. One is The Life of Pablo being an overrated album.
No, he's right about that.
That's one. And the other is the Lord of the Rings movies being bad.
Yeah.
I'll give you Life of Pablo. Maybe that I don't see it as his best album, but like it's really good. I like it a lot.
All right, okay.
Lord of the Rings, I'm right on. Unfortunately, I've tried it multiple times. I just don't like Lord of the Rings.
I feel better soon, but
I think the occasional tie is fun. I think having 1 or 2 ties a year is fun. I'll stick by that one too.
I do not like ties. It's such it's a tie. I'd rather a game-winning thing happen. To me, that is always more exciting than the game just ending and no one winning. A game-ending thing, a walk-off, you win the game. It's like, yay, everyone's celebrating. That, to me, is the moment I want overtime to end on and not nothing happened.
I guess I would rather see the Lions win this one because that's
the other thing.
I'll give you that. But I think in a vacuum, I agree with you, like straight up. But because ties happen so rarely, I think it's interesting because it's so rare to happen. And then the discourse is always like, why is this allowed to happen? Like if I had a vote, I would say no more ties. But as long as they exist, I want them to happen. At least I need 1 a season.
Yes.
I don't know. Okay.
I will agree. Like the Lions winning would be ideal. The Steelers winning is like, Like, yeah, the Lions lost. It's sad. The tie might be better than a Steelers win. Blaiden, I know you would agree with that.
Yes, but anything is better.
As someone who doesn't really care about the Steelers, I don't know. But I was rooting for the Lions to win that game.
The real dialogue that we need to have is, what is the most interesting record that the Detroit Lions can have at this point? Because there's obviously the 16-1. There's obviously the 16-1.
Well,
but there's also like
they could go 8-9.
Yeah, they could go 8.
They could go 8-8.
8-9. Yeah, 8-9 is the most interesting record they could have. Yes,
but is 16-1 better or worse than 0-16? It's better, right?
I mean, the numbers would say it's better, right? You would technically have a better record.
It's better. I'd rather be like, okay, at least there was this one time when we didn't lose. Like, obviously you'd rather win, but like, I don't want to lose every single game. At least there was that you could look back and be like, yo, there's that one time that we didn't lose. It's always better to not lose. So I'd rather go 16-1 for sure.
They have winnable games, man. Like,
they're not going to go 16-1. That is my prediction. I was on this train because the Jets were the last team to win a game last year, and the Jets sucked last year. The Jets were such a joke. They were a bigger joke than the Jaguars were, even though the Jaguars got the number 1 overall pick. People were expecting that to be the Jets the whole year, and then all of a sudden they won 2 games, and people were like, oh, what? The Jaguar? I didn't even consider Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars. That was the dialogue. The Jets sucked, but the whole time I'm like, they're not going to go 0-16 because it is really difficult to lose all your games. The Lions will get 1. There's still like almost a little bit under half a season left. They will win one of those. They will win one of those.
Broncos, Falcons.
Yeah,
they can win any of those. Like, they could win any of those.
It's not totally impossible. All right. I know Matt's been waiting for it. The NBA. Are there any interesting storylines going on other than the Cavs being better than the Browns, of course?
Mobley is a very interesting storyline. That guy's so good.
He's just great.
Yes.
Well, I mean, my Hornets beat the Warriors today. So I'm pretty happy about that. The Warriors defense is nuts. It's so good. We ended up winning, but we only ended up winning because like Terry Rozier was just going crazy and hitting ridiculous shots, and then he like won a clutch jump ball against Draymond Green with 20 seconds to go.
Yeah.
But it's like playoff level intensity, at least down the stretch from what I saw. I didn't catch the entire game. But they're a scary team, man.
I didn't see it coming how good they are like already without even Clay back. I thought like once Clay got back, they'd be like 4 seed, 5 seed type of team.
Yeah.
Because they'd missed the playoffs last year. They got in the play-in, but they missed the playoffs. And to go from that to like the best team in the West, a lot of people maybe saw that jump coming, but I did not. I didn't expect it.
It's a number of things. It's first off having competent spacing and giving Curry a chance because last year, a lot of times he didn't. Jordan Poole stepping up and being another shot creator was something that they needed and something that they got. Just better overall fit, and they're playing really well as a unit right now. I don't know if I said this on here last time, but they have the assets. They have the assets to make a big move. And if they don't, I will be very, very disappointed.
We were talking about this before the draft. We're like, they shouldn't take Kuminga. They should try to get a big 3 and get a title out of this Curry Clay thing one more time. And they didn't do it. I wonder if they would do it now.
I mean, with how good they are, you're like, man, they are competing for a title how they are. And they've got assets like Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody, who are not only all very, you could get a lot back for them. You could get a great player back for them. They're all not like playing for the team right now.
Right.
I mean, none of those guys are contributing. So you'd be giving up basically nothing in terms of like what is helping you win now. And you could add, I mean, who knows how good of a player. I'm thinking about like, man, if they got, I don't know, like Miles Turner.
Yeah.
They're already the best defensive team, and they could add a guy like that, they'd be unstoppable. Or, I don't know, is Karl Anthony Towns going to end up leading Minnesota?
There's got to be a guy you have in mind.
Cat is a big one. Cat, it felt this way for a while in Minnesota, where it's like just not working out. And I know this was a question you posed, Matt, is like, is this his last year there? I would guess time is pretty much running out where he feels he's exhausted his time in Minnesota. So that could I definitely could see Cat to the Warriors. I don't know what it would take to get it. It might take more than Wiseman. It might take a little bit more than that.
There's just some offers that the Warriors couldn't beat. Like if the Celtics were going to offer Jaylen Brown, which is not unthinkable.
No, it's not.
That is tough. It doesn't matter how many like guys who might turn out you give me. I'm just going to take Jaylen Brown instead. And I don't know if for sure he's going to be traded, and I don't want to overreact to a 12-game sample size. But I agree. Yeah, if it doesn't work out this year, if they don't figure it out, because their offense is just miserable right now, and there's no excuse for it. There's no reason why it should be this bad.
Typical Timberwolves. That's the story of the Timberwolves' lives.
But if they don't figure it out, I do think this will be Cat's last year. They have to change something. They have to mix it up somehow. And I think Karl Anthony Towns will want out too.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I would say one thing that has been really kind of the Sixers got off to that like 8-2 start, and now they're what? Are they 9-8? 8-8?
They are 8-6.
Yeah.
They've lost 4 in a row.
That's something, and COVID's been a big deal with that just like kind of totally erased that cushion that they had. I thought that's kind of been an interesting thing that's been happening over the past week, is just how they're kind of losing streak. But I think that's basically, you could pin that on COVID and be like, that's why. It was just, yeah.
They haven't had Embiid, right?
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what. It's not a very interesting storyline. It's just like, that's something that I was like, man, that's kind of, they had such a good start and then it just kind of got erased like that.
You know, the 76ers are actually kind of like the Warriors almost. Let's just look at what they were doing with Embiid in. That team is seriously good. That team is almost running like 5 out, like we talked about, I feel like a few episodes ago, especially when Embiid's out there. And it's like they don't have like maybe the biggest names of perimeter creators, but Curry has been balling. Tobias Harris has been playing well. Tyrese Maxey's been playing well.
Yep.
So you've got a lot of guys who can go create shots, and then you've got Ben Simmons, who I know is probably hard to trade, but you've got a guy who a great trade asset who is not contributing anything to the team right now. So how much better could they get if a team, at the deadline, if the right, offer comes their way? I've said it, man. Brogdon in a first is not a bad deal. That is not a terrible deal for Simmons. And I think Daryl Morey is right for waiting and letting trying to figure out this Ben Simmons situation otherwise instead of hitting the panic button. That's the conclusion I've come to. But man, I can't help but think they could be so much better right now if they did hit the panic button a little bit.
Yeah. One thing that looking at the standings and seeing the Wizards at the top of the East winning 75% of their games so far, I'd say that's a pretty interesting storyline and something that I certainly did not see coming. But, that Westbrook trade, that ended up being a pretty good deal for them, I think.
What did they get out of that?
They got Kuzma, who is not a total disaster this year like he was in that Suns playoff series when everyone hated his guts so much. Kuzma's actually been pretty good for them. They got KCP, and who else did they get? There was one other part to that.
Montrezl Harrell.
Yes, and he's their second leading scorer. And he's not even known as a big scoring threat, and yet here he is, the second leading scorer on the best team in the East so far.
It is... it's a little weird. They're very good on defense. That's the explanation, I think. And I mean, unless I'm wrong, are they starting Montrezl Harrell?
They are. He's second in their team. Yeah.
That's what I thought. No, okay, he's technically not starting, but he's getting 29 minutes a night. Regardless, with Harrell, I was not a believer in him. I thought that he had not played great defense for a long time. And, he's a center, and he didn't shoot the ball super well.
One thing Matt hates is centers who don't play good defense. That's one thing I've learned about.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned about you is the cat rant.
Well, because
in Las Vegas.
It's so important.
I know.
To having a good and now currently my team is like the worst interior defending team in the league too. And I guarantee you go get a guy like, I just think the impact of guys like Miles Turner or whoever, those great defensive centers, is definitely underrated. So I thought like, okay, Montrezl Harrell is going to be playing the majority of minutes for them. And since he's, a center who doesn't shoot and doesn't defend all that well, I was like, well, I wasn't particularly high on him, even if he is good at, getting like energy buckets and whatnot and off the bench. But his defense has been a lot better. It has been, which is something I totally didn't see coming. So I think it's a lot of things with them. It's a lot of they got really good role players, and KCP is, a big ad and whatnot. And like you said with Kuzma, even though KCP has not been playing super, super, super well so far. But I think that's the one real big surprise.
I think maybe because they got so many new players in the trade, I wonder if part of it is just they bring it every single night because there's a chip on your shoulder when you get traded like that. And I wonder if you're playing games in October, November. I feel like a lot of maybe the teams in the league aren't bringing it it's hard to bring it in the NBA every single night. And I wonder, there was that time when Kuzma was posting anti-Lakers stuff on his Instagram story, like, oh, look at them kind of struggling without me. I wonder if guys like Kuzma, especially when you come from a team like the Lakers, which are so high profile and your life is so great when you're a Lakers player, and then you get traded from that team. I wonder if that chip on their shoulder has helped kind of bring them to a higher level as the season starts. And maybe that mindset isn't sustainable throughout the whole thing, but it kind of gave maybe those three key players kind of a jolt to begin the year. I wonder how much that plays into it. As we talked a little bit about mindset earlier with Cam.
I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the NBA standings, right? And it looks a lot like the NFL
looking at the
standings.
Cavs.
It looks so much like the NFL standings. And you can't tell me I'm wrong. You have the Wizards.
Washington at the top of the AFC.
Which is like Tennessee being at the top of the AFC. You have
what?
I think it is. Maybe it's a bad
The Wizards
comparison.
are usually really bad, and the Tennessee Titans have been quite good over the past couple years.
But then you have Milwaukee, who just won the finals, and now they're 6-8, and you have the Chiefs, who up until tonight. I'm just saying, there's it's a weird order, that's all I'm saying. It looks weird, just like the NFL's looks weird. You have the Cavs where it's up there, I don't know.
You want to hear a stat? It's something I didn't realize. Bradley Beal. Wizards are overperforming like crazy. Bradley Beal shooting 25% from three on the season. Barely 40% from the field.
If you would have told me the Wizards were number one in the East at this point, I would have been like, damn, Bradley Beal's playing like an MVP candidate. Yeah, crazy stuff.
That's tough.
So I don't know. I want to see them. I saw somebody say, how much longer does Washington have to do it before people start taking them seriously? Not the hate, but a little bit longer.
Yeah, a lot
this
longer.
This is very weird.
It's very strange.
And you got to, we're only 12 games into the season for them. But if that defense keeps up the way that it is going right now, they're legit. They're very legit, especially if Beal can start playing better and KCP can start playing better too.
Yeah. One more other thing. I would say my NBA takes have being high on the Heat and the Bulls. I feel pretty good about those two takes right now because I think especially the Bulls are super exciting and really gelling, I think, in the way that we thought that they would.
Yeah, I'm excited for them too. I feel like we talked about them a little while ago. My thing with them is that it's kind of the same thing as Washington, except I think people overreacted, and I did for a while too, about how bad the Bulls defense was going to be because they have, a not great interior defending center and Vucevic.
Yep.
But their defense was fine last year with that, and they had Markkanen. So their defense is not bad, and then they've just got so many guys on offense who can get it done. And teams like that are always so fun to watch when it's like they've got 4 dudes out there who can go and get a bucket. They're all threats to score themselves. On top of that, Lonzo Ball is legitimately very, very good and very, very good. He's almost kind of like a super high level like glue guy almost because he can get the ball to other people and his defense is great and his shooting is great. And DeMar DeRozan
going
is
nuclear.
Fantastic. He is fantastic.
Crazy stuff right now. And Caruso.
Yes, and Caruso was a great player.
Caruso's story about how the Lakers just lowballed him, and he offered to take a pay cut, and they still didn't want him back. That was kind of a questionable move for the Lakers because he is it for Chicago right now, and he is bringing kind of a fire and an energy to that unit that they really didn't have a guy like that last year, and a lot of teams don't have a guy like that. And Caruso was a big part of that when the Lakers won the championship, and it's continuing now. He started off as a meme, right? Bald white guy, looks like a math teacher. He can dunk, ha ha ha. But Caruso legitimately is a very useful guy coming off the bench for a lot of reasons.
No, I 100% agree. For the record, it did not make sense that the Lakers didn't bring him back when it happened. For people. I feel like we talked about that or something, or maybe that was on Green Room. But I saw that clip from that podcast, and apparently it was under 2 years, $15 million total what they offered him, which is nuts.
In the NBA, that's like a couple. That's like that's so nothing. That's
I don't. If they weren't going to take that, then there was probably they didn't seriously want him. It seemed. And then with DeRozan, I kind of feel like people's perception of him is his playoff struggles with the Raptors, and that's it. And those are definitely not true.
And the play-in game against the Grizzlies, right? He had an awful game that game. So yes, people don't really view him as a winner. Yeah.
But the spacing on this team is really good, even though he's not that much of a liability,
3-point shooter.
Not liability, even though he doesn't do that much from outside the arc. And the fact that he doesn't have to be like the number 1 or number 2 guy. He is right now. He's playing like a number 1 guy, but if he wasn't, there's other guys there to get stuff done. It puts less pressure on him. I guess the way I look at it is when you have 4 guys who are all really good and can all go score, the odds of all of them not being hot is not that high. Or when one of them is cold, it's a lot easier to not notice because you've got other guys on that team who can step up.
Right.
If you're like the guy on your team and there's nobody else, and you have a bad game, everyone's going to know because the team's going to lose. The expectations are ridiculously high on you.
Matt,
so
what do you make?
I buy 100%.
Yes, we like the Bulls going into the season, so I'm glad that they're doing well. One team that's not doing well, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it because they're not a team that I've totally kept up on, is the Bucks. They're in the lower half of the league right now. I think they have a losing record. What, 6-8?
6-8.
Is that what I saw? I know they've been banged up. Is that it, or is it just like? I saw a bunch of Bucks fans on Twitter blaming Drew Holiday for some loss, so maybe that plays into it. But I didn't watch that. I just saw them being mad at him. So that's the extent of my Bucks knowledge.
He's not been super amazing. I kind of feel like even with last year and the playoffs, I kind of felt like Holiday was a liability a lot of the time.
A lot of the games.
Because
for sure.
He had some good plays. His defense is still great. But he probably wasn't doing as much as you wanted him to. And now you're kind of seeing that continue to be a problem, and that's making me very nervous. Is he just starting to regress entirely? And that could be a lot of it. I think the other problem is that they're also banged up, and I think that we said, about last year, it's like, the Lakers and the Heat are in a really tough spot because their off season was so much shorter. I think that's true a little bit for the Bucks too. And if you're coming off finals, you have a shorter off season, slow start. I can see it. I think it's not that crazy. So that's what I would say the mix of things for them.
Holiday had he had a weird.
It's interesting with Holiday because I'm looking at just like stat lines and stuff. He is 3rd in field goals attempted for the Bucks, And yet the only guys he's like ahead of in field goal percentage are guys that are shooting less than 3 shots a game.
Yeah, no, he's been bad.
He's shooting.
Saying he's not been super, super amazing is masking.
Yeah, he's shooting
credit.
under 40% from the field, which is
like
brutal.
38.
It's like unacceptably bad.
Yeah,
and he will. I would be pretty stunned if that held up. But he's an older guy, particularly coming off that short off season. I think that affects him even more.
Yeah, and it was a weird playoff run for him too, where it's like they don't win the finals without him, because especially when the Bucks went on that 4-game winning streak to win the finals, they were down 0-2. They went up 4-0. There are some really key plays that he was a part of that won the finals for them. So obviously in Milwaukee, he gets kind of a pass for that. But even in that playoff run, there were a lot of games where the Bucks did not even shoot well through that whole playoff run. Like, it was one of the lowest, like one of the least efficient NBA champions we've had in a while from a shooting perspective. And a lot of that was Holiday having poor performances in the playoffs. And yet they still needed him to win a ring. So it's like kind of this where it's like, how much can you really criticize him? But yeah, it's been a while. And Chris Middleton has COVID. That's probably another big thing to mention is like, yeah.
That's definitely part of them being.
That's definitely part of them. But
so I mean, the way that I look at Giannis is Giannis. He's going to do his thing when he's in. But you still need guys to create on the perimeter. And if you don't have Middleton and then Holiday is not playing well, then all of a sudden it gets pretty thin.
So it sounds like the Bucks will be fine in the long run.
I would assume
probably.
so. I'm not pulling. I'm not pushing a panic button on the champions with maybe the best player in the world.
Is there any team you are pushing the panic button on at this point?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I think that hot streaks and cold streaks in the NBA last about 10, 12 games. So being 10, 12 games into the season is very much like week 1 of the NFL, where it's like, is this just somebody happened to have a good game at the right time? Or is this like the new reality we live in?
Right.
I think it's impossible to tell. It's not to say that you can't tell anything. I buy the Cavs.
Yeah.
Maybe not as at the seed they are now, but defensively. I mean, Evan Mobley isn't all of a sudden going to become a bad defender. And you watch him play, he's ridiculous. You can see it right away. So that's definitely one guy I feel strongly about. But I think it'd be wrong to write anybody off.
I agree. Looking at the standings right now, there's one team that I'm a little bit underwhelmed with, and it would be Boston, just because they've been the Tatum and Brown era has been a little bit underwhelming, I'd say, and it's kind of continued to be. And I do question a little bit if it's going to work out at this point after a bad start. But again, it's not like I'm completely selling them. If I gun to my head, you had to be like, who's been maybe the most underwhelming? That might be a team that I would say is Boston, and just that duo, because they're both kind of similar in that they're kind of need the ball and they're scorers, and both of them together, is that going to be a championship formula? And so far this year, I would say no. And you'd like that answer to be yes one of these days. So that's definitely maybe the one team I would say I'm not completely selling on them, but a little bit nervous.
I would say there's a few teams where it's just talented, but the offenses just aren't clicking right now. They don't have it figured out. Them, the Timberwolves, another one we just talked about. So those are the teams where I'm I guess I'm worried about their offense. If they need to fix something. It's not just the players are shooting bad. It's they need to fix something.
Yes.
All right.
I think that about does it for the NBA.
I think that about does it. I would like to say one thing about the Cavs real quick before we get out, which is that
Go for it.
Almost, I want to say a couple times a month I get a call from Quicken Loans Arena, and I never answer it. I assume
they want you to play for the team.
They need you, man.
They need you. They're we need some juice off the bench.
To sell me tickets, but I'm sorry.
No, they're not.
The Cavs are
one of our guys just.
Should I go?
Basketball games are fun, man. Even if you don't know basketball,
I've never been to an NBA game before, so it's
good. It's a good time. I enjoy it. I haven't been to a Suns game since the first one, so that's definitely something I'm looking to get into another one since I live so close to the stadium.
I'm very jealous of that. I'm extremely jealous of that. You know, there's not an NBA team in Cincinnati, Ohio.
No, there's not.
It makes it hard to go to NBA games.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere that's like an hour drive to it.
No, maybe I'll go to the next Suns home game because
you gotta.
I've got it. It's right there. I went to dude. I kind of missed when the Suns were bad because you could get into every home game. They'd send a text to you and they're like, ASU student ticket night, $5. And we went to so many Suns games. We went to many Suns games. And it was just like, I mean, they were like had one of the worst records in the league. So like, you know, they were dead cheap. Now I have not been receiving those texts. So sadly, they're third in the West right now.
You win some, you lose some, you know?
So obviously I'm not actually sad that the Suns are really good, but I do miss the $5 ticket
you know,
that happened all the time.
Some give and take, you know?
There is
give and take.
always a downside.
But that does wrap things up for us. As always, tons and tons of content coming your way on all platforms. We will be back Friday to preview Week 11 of the NFL. Don't miss out on all the great content coming your way on all platforms. And as always, from Corn Boy, Gambling Addiction Boy. Actually, by the way, Theo, how did your bets work out this week?
Bad, not good. I bet on Chris Duarte and Sabonis over on points and rebounds, respectively, against the Jazz, and that didn't hit. I had a parlay that was the Bucks and Washington under, which hit, and then I bet the under for Chiefs versus Raiders. It was pretty crazy high, and I'm like, both of those offenses might kind of underwhelm. Like I feel like they're kind of giving those offenses a lot of credit for what they are right now. So I bet the under there, but then of course the Chiefs got right this week, so that didn't hit. It doesn't matter what happens tomorrow. And then I put $20 on the Seahawks, and I put $20 on the Vikings. So the Vikings are the only thing that hit for me this week. I started with 100, and I'm going to end with 50. So I lost $50. So I'm on another Blue Wire. I'll be a guest on the Upsets and Underdogs podcast with Will Blackman, where they supply me with some advice. So I'll go there with my tail between my legs, and they didn't really give me any advice last time. They were just like, go crazy, but I didn't win.
You didn't go crazy.
I lost money.
You went insane.
I did. I put the money down, but I did not win. So hopefully maybe next week.
You win some, you lose some. Get at it next week. But as always, from Corn Boy, Gambling Addiction Boy, hopefully he gets his bets right next week. And of course, Lemon Boy. Here are the Stay Hot shout outs, and we'll catch you on the flippity flip.
Hi, this is James from Virginia. I just want to say that all three of you guys owe the Pats some respect. We just destroyed the Browns today, and Blaiden, the Browns suck. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's Dylan from the Chicago area, and I just want to say that, yes, the refs robbed us of that win, but our team was extremely undisciplined. We were gifted many opportunities to win that game, so don't blame it entirely on the refs. It's the coaching. Nagy's gone.
Hey, this is Niku from Chicago, and Bears are on bye this week, but I still have to say every week that goes by with Matt Nagy still as the coach is an L for the Bears. Thanks. Love you guys. See ya.
Cameron Durrell Newton is back in North Carolina, winning football games. 2 touchdowns. MVP. He is this team. He is everything. I love this man.